Third and sort of final speaker for this session before we have a Q&A where you'll be able to ask some of the burning questions that you're perhaps sitting with is Anne-Marie Elias. And Anne-Marie does the important work of bringing together all different sectors to collaborate and support social change initiatives, and that's another challenging task. And Anne-Marie is going to be talking to us about how with all of this technological innovation where we kind of celebrate progress, which Greg was questioning a little, what happens to our humanity? What about us?
Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Anne-Marie Elias, and I'm actually known as the Chief Disruptor. And it's quite a bold title, which started from being a migrant to this country at 7 years of age when I couldn't speak English in a classroom in Hillsdale, which is sort of southeast Sydney. And I used to get in trouble a lot because I was a disruptor because I actually had a posse of interpreters. But you know, in those days, the teachers just didn't appreciate that I was actually quite ingenious because necessity is the mother of invention. And I hung out with the Italian chicks at the back of the class and they were my translators. Otherwise, I would have sat there not knowing anything. So I remember in my early years having to write a lot of lines saying I must not disrupt the class. And I actually thought I was extremely clever because I learnt to sticky tape 4 pins together and do 4 lines at a time. But sadly, no one saw my genius at all. In fact, they so didn't see my genius that they called my parents up in year 10 to say she will make a very fine hairdresser. And you should take her out now and forget about this study and everything. She has no aptitude for academia. And so, you know, I believe them. I'm like, yes, leave school in year 10 and become a hairdresser, man, I'll make shit tons of money. But it wasn't to be. My mother had suffered and had come as many migrants to this country to actually give her children a better life. So I was not going to university. You must understand this. So my mother gave them the what for and literally dragged me to TAFE after I had failed my HSC the first time and presented me to TAFE with these appalling marks and said, my daughter is going to go to university. And they're sort of halfway sort of trying to not demolish her or me, but be a little bit encouraging, was to say, you know, she could be a police officer, because that was kind of the lowest marks you needed to get in your HSC. So anyway, my life was very blessed because I had a mother that believed in me. I had one teacher, my economics teacher, that believed in me. And as they now say, the rest is history. Not only did I go to uni and do politics and sociology, but I have a master's in communication management and was admitted to start a PhD, but I've changed my mind. And this is the reason why. I'm a chief disruptor because I spent my entire life looking at disadvantage. I had my own disadvantages. By the time I was 14, I attempted suicide. I ended up in a hospital where the social worker told me there were no foster parents that would take a 14-year-old. So I had to go and struggle in a group home with kids that frankly I was terrified of. So luckily I had my wherewithal to say to her, well, if I have to go into a group home, I'd actually rather go back home to my family. And so that she found me a foster family. And I stayed with them for 12 months and got a sense of normality. Like, is anyone here a quarter Egyptian, Turkish, Italian, Corsican? Why would you do that to someone? Why would you get all the crazy nashos in one family and give it to me? I don't know, it was stupid, but that's why I like to disrupt things as well. I got a lot of passion for disadvantage because of my own experiences, but also I then spent my entire life working for ministers on both sides of politics, Labor and Liberal. I worked for state and federal government and I worked for NGOs. And I left after 30 years in utter despair. We are not fixing shit at all. Right? So you consider this, we spend $250 billion a year in Australia every year, and I reckon that's a lot higher now, that figure's from 2013, on social disadvantage. Yet the very same year, the Australian Council of Social Services told us 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 6 children live below the poverty line. My friends, the status quo is unacceptable. So who is with me to disrupt the shit out of it? Right? We have to, because I'll tell you why. These lovely numbers on spreadsheets are people. People's lives are at stake while we dick around with our innovation labs. Sorry, but I have to say that. You know, I've got an idea. Maybe you take the people affected and bring them into the innovation lab. Oh my God, like really, do you think? No, let's just get designers and clever people and forget about the people who we're actually trying to solve the problem for. So I've got the shits with a lot of that, which now you start to understand why I really am the chief disruptor. So basically, whoa, we have a global dilemma, and automation and technology is a major part of this, right? So the dilemma is that by this year, apparently, global unemployment was going to reach 200.5 million. I'm dyslexic at maths, so I think I gave you the wrong figures for the website, so we're going to have to adjust the figures. But basically, this is what's actually happening. And I was at a forum a few weeks ago where someone from EY, I actually asked the question, well, what are we going to do about people? Because people are falling through these cracks. And she thought she was so clever by telling me, no, Anne-Marie, no. For every job that we lose, we replace them. And I just sat there thinking, what coma land is she in? Okay? Because yes, we lose 17,000 jobs and replace them with 4 robots. Is that acceptable? And you know what? That's up to you and me, because all of us are working in these corporations, organisations, academia, whatever, that's focusing so much on this clever innovation and technology and da-da-da-da. And what I'm here to do is to remind you about people, about our humanity, and to remind you, in fact, that progress is not progress if we leave people behind. And that's what's happening. And it's not up to the regulators or the decision makers, it's up to us, you and me, because we're on the coalface of making decisions. When someone says, hey, let's do an innovation lab, then we have the choice to say, well, okay, what are we doing this for? And where's the humanity in that? And who are the people that we're innovating for? Because in my humble opinion, they need to be in the room. Enabling or disabling technology. So other speakers have spoken this morning about technology and whether it's an enabler or a disabler. It can be very disabling. And we've talked about the unemployment prospects. Some people are saying that we're going to have 40% unemployment in the world. And that's just part of this progress. So that's going to continue happening. It's not going to go less. So I wonder why it is that the big tech founders are pushing for a robot tax and a universal basic income. But not the Australian government. We're not even thinking about that, because we're going to wait till it's too late, and then we're going to start talking about it. Vinnie's CEO sleep out. I'm sorry for everybody. I'm not trying to diss the Vinnie's CEO sleep out, but this year they really topped themselves, giving the executives that are sitting there who have no homeless people around them the VR experience of homelessness. I kid you not. We are losing our humanity when we do things like this, because I cannot believe that out of all those good people at Vinnie's and all those CEOs that are there, not one person said, this is crap. We can just walk out onto the street and meet homeless people. We don't need the VR experience. So again, it's up to us to call this stuff out. And that was a quote of mine in Smart Company. And I was called a hater, because I get called a hater a lot. Apparently I'm a Vinnie's hater. I'm such a mean person. But actually I'm not. Because where I draw the line and where I will point it out is where you lose your humanity and you forget about people. And I'm sorry, I'm going to get really emotional now, because these are not numbers on a spreadsheet. These are people's lives. And do you know what? I reckon some of the people in this room, if interest rates go up, if they have 3 family tragedies where people die on them and they lose their money or whatever, are a hair away from homelessness and from abject disadvantage. That's you and me. That's not those people out there at all. So, progress just isn't progress if we leave people behind. So I'm going to be the person reminding you that. And one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm finally called myself a catalyst for change, because that's what I'm committed to. I've been doing this work since I was 16. As soon as I got a voice, I sat on, I mean, it's really daggy, the Ethnic Communities Council Board as the youth vice chairperson. Most people at 16 were not really doing things like that, but I was, because I wasn't allowed out. You know, I wasn't allowed out, and couldn't really talk about what happened to me, but felt that I could help others and be that voice for others, because I've got a big voice. So I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it for people who were like me, that were voiceless at some point in their life. So I'm hacking for humanity. This is enabling technology. This is technology that makes my heart sing and makes me feel so happy. This is correct use of virtual reality. So I was involved in New Horizons, a disability service that wanted to look at VR as an enabler for people with severe and profound disabilities. This is Kath. Kath is a cracker, right? She's another disruptor, 101%. She's non-verbal. She has cerebral palsy quadriplegia. But you know what? She tried the VR goggles for the first time, and all she could say is, "Where are the sharks? I want to go skydiving." And I'm thinking, holy shit, wow. And so she tried on these goggles, and what these goggles do is they allow you to go into a national park, right? So someone's filmed through VR all these amazing images of, you know, Kakadu and Ayers Rock and even the Great Barrier Reef. And that enables people like Kath, who are unable to fly to these places or even move around those parks, to have that experience by sitting in her wheelchair. And this was so exciting. But even New Horizons, which is a disability service, got really excited about doing an innovation lab around this. Let's get an innovation thing happening, Anne-Marie, where we've got a whole bunch of guys from Citibank who are willing to donate their time to help us design the crowdfunding campaign. So I'm like, freaking awesome. Saruya Vanka, anyone heard of him? Ex-Microsoft or current Microsoft, he's designed something called the Design Swarm. So I took this methodology to these guys and I said, okay, let's do it. So they got it all right. They had their workers there, they had Citigroup there. And then I said, well, where are the people with disabilities? And they said, oh, no, it's really hard. You know, they've got complex needs. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So we work around them, because we're not designing a crowdfunding campaign for crowdfunding, because who cares? There's a million of them. We have to let everybody in this room remember why we're here. And we're here because of people like Kath and what it can do for her. And I tell you, it rocked the room. Kath and another guy came in, and like just the looks on their faces when they first had a look at this technology was just awe-inspiring. And what that did is that gave the right focus to the people designing the campaign. Campaign isn't about VR and how cool it is, because who cares? It's just another tool. But it's what VR has the potential of enabling that became, above all, top of mind. And that's the campaign that they designed. So you can have a look at it on Parallel Parks. What did I do last weekend? I hacked for homelessness. Of course I did. Because who in this room was not affected by the crap at Martin Place? Who was not affected, right? We are human beings. And I think what happened is that we were nicely walking past people tucked away in nice little corners that are homeless. Oh, hi, you're homeless. Hi, I can give you $1. And you're over there, that's lovely, but nicely separated, right? You're not, heaven forbid, congregating in the one area to make me feel like shit, because you're all together. And that's all that happened. And then it really went terrible, didn't it? You know, they're all drug addicts and they're all mental health cases and they've all got AVOs out on them. You know, I have a third theory on everything. Sorry, the academics, you'll probably kill me after this. But there's always going to be a third that are crap and shitty people that are there. And that's fine, that's life. But I reckon there's 2/3 of those people that were packing up in tents that were not any of those things. And that were that hair between you and me. And that's the reality. So for many years now, I immersed myself 4 years ago, I went to my first hackathon, saw all this stuff, never knew this parallel paradigm, right? I lived in government, NGO land, ministerial, and did my thing there. And then all of a sudden I met these people that were digital natives, technology people, awe-inspiring. And I just kept thinking, I wonder if I can get these people to come and help me hack social change. Because you know what, they're really clever. They're smart, and the most important thing, academics back me up on this, they have no vested interests. They don't belong to any NGOs, they don't care which NGO gets anything, they're committed to solving a problem. So this was going to be my PhD, but my PhD is in true life now. This is my PhD. So cross-sector, cross-discipline collaboration breeds innovation. But none of that works without humanity. So when we started working on a series of social change hacks, we always started with the NGOs that weren't the big sexy ones, but the ones doing the hardcore work on the ground. So with Hack for Homeless, we partnered with New South Wales Council of Social Services, Rabbi Mendel Castell, and Reverend Bill Cruz from Exodus. So a bit of interfaith stuff going on there. And what was so amazing, it was their first hackathon. We spent 2 months doing all the data. I always start with my data, even though I hate it too. But I look into the patterns in the data, and some of the patterns really shocked me. 60% of young people on the streets are out of foster care. Thank you. Thank you, New South Wales Family and Community Services, where I worked. Thank you so much. In fact, I'll even one-up that. Do you know that the majority of adult prisoners have come through the foster care system? Now you know. So what do we do about it? We go to a different set of people that have no vested interest to solve the problem, and we work with them. So we attract a lot of different crazy people at our hackathons. 80% of people have never been to a hackathon before, right? I'm not a hacker, I'm a hustler. I've definitely worked that much out. I hustle to my death. But I'm not a hacker, I'm not digital. Like, yeah, I'm really good with Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, but I can't code, I'm shit with data because I'm dyslexic with math and all that kind of stuff. But I have a value to contribute in those things. And I have subject matter expertise, I have understanding of the cohort, and I do really crazy things. So apart from the fact that we actually had a whole lot of former homeless people in the room that were non-identified, that I had to tell people that they're among us, and people started crying because you could not tell who were the homeless people in the room or former homeless people. But then on the Saturday night, we did a tour with Rabbi Mendel Castell. He took us to Martin Place, and we met these two characters. And Lawrence and Ricky are just absolute characters. They're my new friends and they're my guides now. But what I did is we met them on the Saturday night, we invited them to the hackathon. I burst into tears when I walked in on Sunday and they were there. Not only did they give speeches about their current experience living rough, but they stayed the entire day. And they became judges of the hackathon. That is hacking for humanity. That is how innovation should work. It's not about having the technology, it's not about having even the smart people in the room. It's about how we connect with people that understand the problem better than you and I could even begin to think. So did you know that there are 4 carriages going to Kiama every night filled with homeless people in our own little city, okay? So they do that because it's safe and because obviously it's cheap. But I met 2 ladies the other night at Martin Place that I swear to God looked like school teachers. Like you would never think. And they were in their 70s and they're living on the train because that's all they have. That's our humanity, people. That's what's happening in our city. And I personally have decided I can't take it. I can't sit there and just go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Because it's actually not okay. And again, I'm really committed to shining the light on these issues, but also bringing these people with us. So Ricky, the guy with the blue hat, is a civil engineer. He is. He worked as a public servant. He lost his job. He lost his mother. His father had dementia. And his life just, no drugs, no alcohol, definitely some mental health stuff going on. But I cried the night that I met that guy, because that guy could be me and that guy could be you. And I just felt so sad that he lived in that world where people didn't respect him. And in fact, what they told us at the end of the hackathon is just how human they felt, right? Like they were part of something. Rabbi took one of them, Tracy Howe from NGOs took the other, and they got them to participate in the judging. They've never had any kind of attention like that. That's how you change the world. One person at a time, one hack at a time, one event at a time. So we did spark social change last weekend. We had about 90 people come to our hackathon. And can I tell you, we didn't get $1 from government. Not a cent. But do you know who did come on board? Domain Property Group. So I want to say that because I think these are the companies that we have to think are the business of tomorrow. Because they get that they're part of something, part of a place, part of a society, part of a community, and they want to be part of that solution. Now, they didn't want any publicity. They didn't want a big deal, but they sent 5 of their staff the whole weekend. They gave us all their data, all the property data for us to be able to use. I have no data from government, none. I have no money from government, none. And no one from government came along to the hackathon or even asked us, can you come by after you've done it and let us know? Because they're not interested. So what do you reckon? It's up to us, right? It's up to us. And Vibewire is a youth co-working space that I'm a part of. Spark Festival, I'm on the board. And what Spark Festival does as a mainstream celebration of Australian innovation and startups is it gives people like me a place. It gives me people like me a voice to say, hey, how about we include Aboriginal people? How about we include disadvantaged people? How about we include the winners of that hackathon as part of that showcase, right? And the team that won is a team, none of them even thought this was going to happen, but their idea is Care Connect, and it spoke to my experience in foster care. And what it's doing now is it's looking at leveraging unused data in, unused accommodation in Airbnb and hotels, right? So again, I love solutions that do not look at the service system or government, because I just don't want to. We're better off just getting on with it and doing it. And I'm really excited about the other team. The second winning prize was a team from Deloitte's. Now those guys were amazing, absolutely amazing. And they came up with an idea for also speaking to the foster care issue, that every young person should have 5 aunties and uncles they can call on throughout their life. And we should draw that from family networks and schools and communities, so that if the kid starts to have problems like I did at 14, that's a fucking magic age, can I tell you? Sorry about the swearing. But it really is, like, a lot of stuff happens. A lot of attempted suicide happens at that age. I don't know what it is, hormones, stress, no capacity to solve problems at that age, because you just don't. But that's a real, it's a real core age. So their solution is, start from primary school, get the 5 aunties and uncles, and then those kids and their parents or carers have other people to draw from. That's community. So progress just isn't progress if we leave people behind. Hopefully today I've shown you how we can take them with us. And also to remind you that it's not up to anyone out there, it's up to you and you and you and me. So it's up to us. So thank you so much for your time, and just always remember, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And we're trying to do that with Hack for Humanity or Hack for Social Change. The next hackathon we're doing is in November on domestic and family violence. We are tackling all the big, ugly, disgusting issues that are not getting any better. And we're doing this, and we need your help from wherever you are, whether you've been to a hackathon or not. I guarantee you I'll get you addicted to this process, because we have to get shit done fast. Because if we don't, just remember, it's people's lives are at stake. People are falling through the cracks. So I hope you will join me, and thank you so much for the opportunity today. I think we disrupted Sydney. Thank you. Can I do a photo?
Sure.
I'm really shit at this. I'll end up looking like Where's Wally, just to let you know, right? No, nothing glamorous about me doing these photos, but I like to capture where I've been. Yeah. I can't see the people. I'll just do
Okay.
a pano.
So